Then you have to face the realization that instead of modeling love, resilience, and joy, the lesson you taught your kids was sacrifice without any purpose. What is the worst decision you can make as a parent when it comes to raising your kids? Here it is: staying together and raising your kids in the midst of a dead, loveless, or even worse, a tension-filled marriage. Ever found yourself wondering if you should keep the marriage going just for the kids? It's a legitimate question, and today I'm digging into the nitty-gritty of whether staying together for the sake of the kids is a good or a bad idea. Now, on the one hand, knowing everyone is under the same roof can be comforting, sure, and being under the same roof means less expenses. But what are the true costs of living together as roommates? Two parents at home often means more resources for things like education, activities, and, well, pizza nights. But, and this is a big but, what happens when that stability is just a facade? This is where we dive into the downside of staying together under the premise of just for the kids, and there's quite a bit to unpack here. First off, consider this: the relationship your kids see between you and your spouse sets the stage for what they'll expect in their own relationships. If they're growing up in a house where smiles are as rare as a total eclipse, happening just every couple of years, where the hugs and the cuddles are like finding a unicorn, what message are you sending to them? Here it is. What's normal is two people just sharing space without any warmth and affection. That will be their blueprint for love. That's not exactly the dream setup you want for them, right? If you want to mess up your kids' future, keep them in a home with the two of you where you're not sending loving vibes back and forth. Kids pick up on the tension. They don't have the context to process it, and it hurts them more than it hurts you. You are not doing them any favors by leaving them in this situation. You're way better off co-parenting in different homes than living that way. And here's a bonus: when you do let go of the marriage and your only relationship with your former spouse is co-parenting, guess what? You'll both do a much better job because you won't have the daily frustration and the seething tension of your relationship needs being unmet. I've seen this countless times. I do divorces, and the post-divorce relationship is usually much better than it was in the months or years prior to filing the divorce. No one, and I mean no one, has ever regretted getting out of a bad marriage. No one comes back to me 6 months or a year or 2 years after the divorce and says, "Oh, I wish I had stayed in that miserable situation." Instead, I hear how much happier they are. I hear how their kids are thriving without that tension. How their kids sometimes even tell them how much more relaxed things are and how they're better able to enjoy their own lives. I see grades going up. I see absentees from school going down. Now, supposing you had stayed in that dead marriage, or worse, that bad marriage, for the sake of the kids. Let's talk about that future. Fast forward to when the kids pack up for college or start their own adventures. Suddenly, it's just you and your spouse sitting across from each other, bound by years of playing roles. If the glue holding you together was the kids, what's left? For many, this is where the final act plays out, leading to a delayed curtain call on the marriage that ended in spirit years ago. The years of staying in a loveless marriage for the sake of the kids can feel like an eternity of missed opportunities for happiness. Then you have to face the realization that instead of modeling love, resilience, and joy, the lesson you taught your kids was sacrifice without any purpose. And in reality, in most cases, that stay together for the kids excuse was really just a means of kicking the divorce down the road about 10 or 15 years because you didn't want to deal with it. And now, all those years down the road, there will likely be more assets that you have to divide with your ex, or even worse, more debt that you've accumulated as a couple that now has to be paid off. Do you want that stress too? Now let's pivot to the most critical point here. Kids are perceptive. They pick up on more than we give them credit for. Living in a house with constant tension, or worse, complete indifference, where you just don't care what the other one does, because you have nothing to do with them. You're just two people sharing under a roof. That sends a detrimental message to the kids that is louder than any staying together for the kids justification can cover up. Now, are you ready for the shocker in all this? Here it is. Kids prefer happy parents. Okay, that's not really that shocking, but what is surprising is that your kids will not be harmed by your divorce, and they will be much happier and better off for it. Seeing mom and dad thriving, even if it's not under the same roof, teaches them that happiness is worth pursuing, and that compromise doesn't mean losing yourself in the process. It shows them that love should bring joy, not be a chain, and not bring pain. It also teaches them that life goes on when a relationship ends. This is something that they need to know for their own relationships in the future so that they don't end up stuck in a bad dating or living together situation, or even their own bad marriage someday. Let me ask you a question here. Do you want your kids to know that if something isn't working and is bringing them a tremendous amount of unhappiness, whether it's a job or a friendship or a bad marriage, that they aren't sentenced to stay and endure it. So parents, this is your wake-up call. Staying married for the sake of the kids might seem like the noble choice, but if you dig deeper, there is a huge cost to it. And in some circumstances, it actually may be a very selfish thing to do. Happiness is not just a right, but is a lesson that we teach our children. They deserve to see what real love looks like, even if that means finding it in separate homes. This isn't the 1940s. They will be okay if you get divorced. Remember, it's not the structure of the family that matters the most, but it's the love within it. Their sense of family will not be affected by having two separate homes versus one. So before you decide to weather the storm for another day, a week, a decade, ask yourself this question: what lessons on love and happiness are my kids really learning? And remember, it's never too late to choose happiness, not just for you, but for the little eyes watching, learning, and loving you no matter what. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to click subscribe, like, follow, and turn on the alerts so that you'll get notified when we post our newest videos. Please share these videos and leave us some comments, ask us questions, tell us what other topics you'd like for me to talk about. Join our Facebook group at Georgia Divorce and Custody for even more information. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on the next video.